What's up, guys? Coming to you from Columbia again with Lewis. And this episode is brought to you by dark chocolate M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, and Reese's. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have any kind of sponsor. But if you don't eat them, you should, because they are delicious.
But we do believe in continuity, which is why we did this. And delicious snacks. We believe in those too.
That's right.
In case it's not obvious.
Comic books, M&Ms.
Reese's Pieces.
Great mix. So, anyways, we've been moving back and forth today. It was rainy outside earlier, so I was like, I'm not even sure if we'll be able to get a video in today. But we were, and then like if you watch my Nightwing video, I just posted, it's there's this weed eater in the background, so we had to move inside.
It wasn't me.
And then as soon as we move inside, he stops.
Right.
And which is just, I guess, how things go. Anyways, so we wanted to come and talk to you and have a superhero chat about the Bat family, which I think we both agree is the greatest family in comic books.
Yep. Amazing supporting cast, heroes that can stand out on their own or fit within the slots of supporting cast.
So,
and it doesn't seem out of place when they do that.
I think I was gonna say something. Yeah, I love the Bat family. Two of the heroes on there are my favorite heroes, and Tim Drake and Dick Grayson. I love both of those. Tied for favorite. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm doing a Nightwing video. Let's do a Bat family video. That'd be great. But
we narrowed it down to about 15 or 20 characters that we'll briefly touch on.
I also kind of wanted to talk about Oracle, because I'd heard a good video by Captain Cummings talking about that, so that was cool. You know, I was just like, yeah, me and Lewis talk about this all the time, so
we do.
I was like, maybe we should do a video about Oracle. So I was like, I'll just do the whole Bat family and we'll call it even. So we apologize that this is a super long video, but
we're gonna try to
hopefully it'll be worth it.
Least important to most important. Obviously, Batman being the most important, because without Batman, you have no Batman family.
That's true. So,
but we may not spend as much time on him just because he's Batman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Say it like the how it should have ended. Yeah.
He's Batman. It's because I'm Batman. Oh man. Oh. But anyways, so who we got first?
First up is Flamebird, the original Batgirl.
Oh really?
Yeah. Bet Kane. Bet Kane, because she's cousins with Kathy, aka Batwoman. So she was Olympic tennis player, very athletic, super into Dick Grayson, even though he was like, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, so interesting costume that they gave her in recent years with the flames on with the red. I really dug that costume. I think they've since changed it and made her more, or maybe I should say less feminine, because she's military now. And
yeah.
The one comic you lent me that I saw her in, I was like, I don't know that I would have immediately recognized her as Bet Kane, but so. She deserves to be on the list, even though she's far down, because she was the original Batgirl before Barbara came along, and so we'll talk about Barbara.
She debuted in the Adam West show, right?
Barbara, yeah. That was her first appearance, and then they brought her into the comics because of how popular she was.
Okay.
Thank God they were allowed to use her actually hitting people in the comics, because on the show she can only do kicks like she was a Rockhead or something, and.
Well, they had Batman and Robin to do the hits.
Yeah, she would kick him, and then, they'd fall down or something. So, it was a strange time to watch TV. I caught it in reruns. I'm not that old.
Yeah, I still love that show. That's still a great show.
There's very much a charm about that show that is lacking in a lot of DC's movies now.
Well,
but we won't go down that route.
Let's stay on topic, because we got a long list that we got to get through. I don't have much to add on Flamebird. I don't really know much about the character.
Yeah.
So
I think she'd make an excellent character in the Titans, but that's about it. Like, I don't know that. I mean, an occasional appearances to Bug Dick in the Batman series would be fine, I think. But as a whole, I don't know that she's
Important.
truly essential. But because she was the original Batgirl, I thought she needed to be on the list.
Okay. All right, what's next?
Azrael.
Now, I didn't know who this character was. On Detective Comics, if you've been reading that through Rebirth, he just shows up out of nowhere. And it's just like,
well, that's kind of how it happened in the 90s,
it's just
too.
like, who is this guy? Like, they don't, yeah, but they don't, like, explain who he is. They don't introduce why he's on the team. He's just suddenly on the team, and you're just like,
okay.
What in the world? Like, who is this guy who's now on the team? And that they're all talking like he's been there the whole time.
Right.
It was super weird. I had to ask him. I was like, who is this guy? It's like, I think it's Azrael, but I don't know.
He was the first replacement Batman.
Yeah.
In the 90s when Bane broke Batman's back.
Right.
He was an interesting character then. I think he's probably not as interesting now. So I only included him on the list because historically he's significant for the time where Batman had his back broke by Bane.
He has had one of the coolest Batman costumes, though, from the 90s with all that stuff. It was cool.
I much prefer the classic look that Dick Grayson rocked after that storyline ended and the Prodigal storyline.
I'm not saying he was a good Batman. I'm just saying it looked cool for the time. For the
time, it was everything it needed to be because it was purposefully over the top because that was the 90s.
I like over the top stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
So it was great.
I think his look now looks really weird because he's sort of like priest robes or something.
Yeah.
And
Saint
it doesn't.
Paul, is that what he's called?
Jean-Paul Valley.
Jean Paul, that's right.
Yeah.
I think I'm mixing Saint Walker and
that's
Jean Paul.
What
there you go.
But yeah. So just I don't know. The look is weird now. I definitely prefer the '90s red and gold with a little bit of white mixed in.
Yeah. I don't mind the new outfit.
It just looks like a Crusader outfit.
He's going to be on the Justice League Odyssey with Starfire, Cyborg, and Jessica Cruz, which I thought was a weird choice. He's just kind of like a throwaway character they throw in there. But
he's got to do something to redeem himself as a character.
There was an interesting story in Detective Comics that I enjoyed with him, where you have like his past coming to haunt him. They're trying to kill him, and I thought that was really interesting. And then after that, like, nothing happened with him. I'm just like, okay, so you brought this guy in for this one big story, and it was good, and then, like, now nothing is important with him. Like, he's just a minor character that has no relevance. So, what they should have done, brought him in, did that story, and then gotten him out somehow.
Yeah. He works better in small doses, from my own experience. So... Maybe they'll do something good with him.
And honestly, like, I think the big problem was that the whole team was just getting too big.
Yeah.
Because you had Tim Drake, who I don't think was on at the time, or maybe he was. Tim Drake, spoiler, Cassandra. You had Batwoman, Batman. You had Batwing. You had Azrael, and you had Clayface. I was like, there are too many people on this team. Like,
that
the Justice League. You can throw
Legion of
7 to 9 people in there, but for this like
15 people.
It's supposed to be like this really small like group of people. It's just getting too many characters, and it was just getting too much to handle, too much to follow. But anyways, you got anything else to say with him?
No, I'm good.
Right, move on.
Batwoman. So Kathy Kane. I think her costume is interesting looking with the red.
I think so too.
With the red bat, I think that's a unique look.
I don't understand why she doesn't keep the hair.
But does she cut her hair too?
Yeah, she's got like real short hair like this, and it's red, and she's like super pale. I'm like, this looks ugly.
Yeah, I feel like
keep the long red hair. It looks awesome.
I thought it was an interesting choice when they reintroduced her to continuity with the 52 series. From I don't know, like 10 years ago or something. But I mean, ultimately, my thoughts on her are like, I have mixed feelings about her because I'm concerned that they only introduced or reintroduced her to sort of play up her sexuality, as opposed to just introducing an interesting character who happens to be gay.
Yeah.
So,
but I've not liked the character at all. I didn't think she was important. I didn't even buy the her rebirth issue,
Yeah.
which I bought most of the others. I was just like, this. I don't care for the character at all. Now I will say the one issue that has made me like her character is when she had that moment with Tim Drake in one of the Detective Comic issues, which
Well,
I've done a video on. So that writer made me love the character in that issue. But unfortunately, I just don't like she's that interesting. Otherwise, I do like the tension of her trying to be in the Bat family, but also in the military, and she has these two dual things, kind of like Captain Atom does, like these two dual allegiances. I love Captain Atom. He has these, or she has these dual allegiances that she's trying to balance. Like she respects and loves her father in the military, and she wants to obey like the orders that she's given, but at the same time, she's a Bat member, like a Bat of the Bat family, and so there's a code that you have to follow in the Bat family. And I thought it was an interesting line that they went on in Detective Comics where she kills Clayface. Spoiler alert. I know that
he apparently doesn't know how.
I always give those after, but I mean it's been so long. Like you should know that by now.
If you're into this stuff, yeah.
Anyway, so and then like she gets tried by the Bat family. Those were some really good issues. I really liked that. And then I don't know what's going on in her own comics. I didn't care, but just seeing her struggle to be a Bat member or not, that's been really good. That's been really interesting. But honestly, like once that's over, I'm just like, what's gonna happen with this character? Like I'm just not gonna care. So like I think they try to make her more than she really is.
Right.
Like Batgirl's a lot more interesting than Batwoman is. Although it would be interesting if she died and we replaced Batwoman with one of the Batgirls. That would be interesting.
Well, and see that's the thing. So 3 things I want to say. I think she could lead her own Bat family of sorts.
Yeah.
Or potentially slot in with the Birds of Prey. And I think that would be an interesting take on the character. I was intrigued by the Lonely Place of Living with Tim Drake and the future Tim Drake. Spoiler alert! Warning about what she was going to do apparently to Clayface.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think there was more to it than that.
Right. But then
that as well.
You mentioned the military thing, and I'm like listening to you, and I'm like that should be really interesting.
Yeah.
Trying to balance those two things, because that was always one of the cool things about Captain Atom series in the 80s and 90s was him trying to balance his role as the leader of the Justice League Europe and work with the military, because at one point he was apparently giving secrets to the government on the Justice League, and when they found out, they were angry about that, justifiably so.
I think the main problem with her character is that DC tries to treat her like an A-lister when she's obviously a B or C-lister.
Yeah.
And she hasn't earned the right to be an A-lister like Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Robin,
Green Lantern,
Flash. Green Arrow, Flash. All these great characters. Even Batgirl, I think, could be considered an A-lister at times, or Oracle.
She may be an A-, but
at least a B-lister.
Yeah,
and Batwoman's never proven herself to be that. She doesn't sell her comics well, and she's not an interesting character yet.
But she has potential.
She has potential, and it's just like I think all characters have potential if you write them well.
Yeah, that's true.
But she hasn't proven herself to be an A-lister yet. And a similar thing with Marvel, they throw in all these B or C-list characters trying to make them A-listers. And it's like, they're not A-listers. We don't care about them as much as we do about the A-listers.
Right.
And I think that's the problem with DC. They're trying to treat her equal to Batman. I'm like, no, she's nowhere near Batman.
So she
nowhere near.
That's why I'm saying she would need to show herself in that role.
Yeah.
Like, either start her own little separate sort of Bat family, or slot in with the Birds of Prey and prove that you can be an interesting character, a la Black Canary or Oracle.
I think what she needs to do is get out of the shadow of the Bat and become her own character. Not Batwoman, a new character. Like, give herself a new name.
Like Flamebird is now Flamebird instead of Batgirl.
Away from Batman. I mean, Dick Grayson has done that. Jason Todd has done that. Tim Drake has done that.
To a lesser degree.
To a lesser degree. Not because he wanted to, but he had to.
Right.
Even Batgirl with Oracle did for a long time, and she shined with that, and we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
a lot of these characters have stepped out of the light of the bat, and they've thrived under that. I mean, Nightwing's way more interesting character now that he's Nightwing as opposed to Robin.
Yeah.
Jason Todd's a lot more interesting after he was killed off and then brought back to life as Red Hood.
Because when he was Robin, he was quite generic.
Right. And then Tim Drake is, I feel like he needs to be under the bat, but also he thrives out as well. So he's half and half.
Right.
And I feel like that's the same thing with Damian. Damian is under the shadow of his father and his grandfather, and he needs to get out of both if he's going to be an interesting character. But we'll get to that. But Batwoman, I think what she needs to do is get out of the Bat family. At least name-wise, and become her own hero. Don't have a lot of interactions with Bat. It'd be okay to have a couple crossovers, but mainly like lead. She could lead the Outsiders. That'd be interesting.
That would be really interesting. Batwoman and the Outsiders. DC.
Yeah,
make that happen. That would be.
But
that way we don't have to overtax Batman.
Yeah, and she could probably keep Batwoman if she was the Outsiders, and just have like it'd even be interesting to have her conflict with Batman and his team that's on the Detective Comics.
Oh, well,
and give the role of Batwoman, I think, if she's going to get a new name, to one of the other Batgirls who right now need to be in the shadow of Batman. So anyways, all right. That's about all I got to say about her.
Number 4, Huntress.
Huntress. I love Huntress. My favorite thing about her is the romance with her and the Question in the Justice League
cartoon show.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. That's all I got to say about that. It was beautiful.
She has a very interesting backstory that they developed after Crisis, where she was the daughter of a mobster, and they delve into that on the cartoon show a little bit.
I know that she's technically a bat in the Bat family, but I feel like she's more fit for the Green Arrow family.
That's a modern move, though.
And I think they've made that move more now, and we include her on the list because she is originally Bat family.
Well, I mean, because originally she was the daughter of Batman and Catwoman from the Golden Age.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or Silver Age, one of those. Yeah. And that's why they had to fix the continuity, because Batman and Catwoman would not have been married at this point in Crisis, but they wanted the character. And she had short runs in the Justice League in the 80s, and
she has an interesting run-in with Tim Drake too.
That's true. Yep. I think she has so much potential. I think they used her well when she was with the Birds of Prey, so I think that's another option for her. I think so many writers, though, try to distance her from the Bat family in an unnecessary move. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're going to slaughter in the Green Arrow family, more power to them, because I think it's a character who definitely deserves some shine, and if she ain't getting it in the Bat family, get it somewhere else, because it's a waste of a perfectly great character.
I think she works beautifully in Birds of Prey. With her and Oracle and Black Canary. Those are like a core crew of the Birds of Prey, and I mean they all work well together. You have the fury and revenge of Huntress. You have the tactics and skill of Black Canary, and the wisdom and calculation of Oracle. And it's just a beautiful combination. Beautiful.
So. But DC, please use her more often. She's so far down the list only because you all haven't made advantageous use of her.
She's probably the most potential A-lister on this. Like
that's far down the list.
She has like the most potential to rise up on the scale of any of the ones I think that are low. So
anything else?
No, that's about it.
Next up is Spoiler.
I love Spoiler. And I think she's a really interesting character because she doesn't fit well in the Bat family.
Right.
Because she doesn't like the rules of the Bat family. And yet she is tied intrinsically to the Bat family because of Tim Drake.
Right.
And I think that's great. So she didn't do well as Robin. She didn't do well as Batgirl. Not saying that she didn't make a good addition to those characters, but they weren't really meant for her.
Right.
I think
she's perfect as spoiler.
She really fits well as spoiler. She's her own character. She didn't have anybody over her. And so, like, when she was Robin and Batgirl, she really was just in the light of the Batman. And she just naturally, as her character, doesn't fit into somebody else's shadow. And I think that's beautiful.
I think one way that they could potentially use her is alongside the Titans. Or Teen Titans or something.
She's too old for the Teen Titans.
You think so? Okay.
She's the same age as Tim Drake. He's not a teenager anymore. Well,
so what? I think he ought to be leading the Titans.
It'd be
not
cool.
Damian.
It'd be interesting if the two of them had like more of a mentorship over the Teen Titans.
Okay, I'd be down with that.
Honestly, like they have, what is Damian, like 13?
Right. I mean, the characters on that definitely need some direction.
I thought the move they did, with New Teen Titans and the original Teen Titans, all of those heroes had mentors, pretty much. And then if they all didn't have mentors, like Starfire, Raven, and Cyborg and Beast Boy, they had leaders who were being mentored.
Robin, Wonder Girl,
Flash, Kid Flash, even Arsenal.
I'm sorry, I just call him Flash now because that's who he is.
Well, he was Kid Flash.
Wally, I know.
He was Kid Flash.
Are you kidding me? I know this.
Anyways, and then they moved straight from that to Titans, and then they mentored the Young Justice, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so there's never really been a Teen Titan group that wasn't being mentored in some way until, I don't know, the 90s, 2000s? Maybe 2000s. It's only been very recently.
No, so like Young Justice was on their own, but they still had connections to their mentors. So Tim Drake with Batman, Superboy with Superman, Impulse with Wally and Max Mercury and Jay and all those characters, and then of course Wonder Girl with Wonder Woman. So I mean they all had those deep connections, and then after Young Justice ended, they rolled over into Jeff Johns' new Teen Titans run, which had Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven with Beast Boy operating in the mentor role for the Young Justice characters. And then Nightwing went off to Outsiders, and Starfire was with the Teen Titans. Oh. She served as a mentor during that. You got those issues. You need to read them.
I'm slow on the read.
That's fine.
But lately, like the Rebirth Titans, I mean, you technically had Wally West. He was Wally West 2. He was being mentored.
Right,
but he wasn't a leader by any means. He was brand new to the superhero thing. And Damian was the main leader. And I guess you could say that Beast Boy, although they de-aged him, and Raven, although they de-aged her, and Starfire.
I'm not even going to ask about that.
Yeah, it was dumb. Starfire was the oldest, and she wasn't the leader. I was like, why is Starfire not leading this group? She has been a core member of the Teen Titans for 30 plus years.
Right.
Why is she not in the leadership role instead of the 13-year-old Damian?
That would be a really interesting take on the character too. Raven as the leader of the Titans.
I was talking about Starfire.
Oh. Well, okay, that's fine.
So Starfire,
but
is now over in Justice League Odyssey, and so is Cyborg.
The problem with Starfire with the teenage characters, short of them de-aging her, would be who would she have the relationship with? Because at some point you're going to have these, these teenage relationships, because that's just part of growing up.
Maybe that's something that the new Teen Titans have missed for the last decade or so. Is that like before they were all like intertwined in some way.
It was a family.
I mean, a family of teenagers, kind of like your high school friends. You were all like best buddies and always did everything together all the time. And then like the Teen Titans slowly became like just a bunch of people thrown together, and they might have come together to fight crime, but they didn't really ever spend time together outside of it. Yeah. Especially now that Damian's in there, like he don't have any friends except for like John, and he won't let him come into the Teen Titans, and that was dumb. But Raven's going to the Titans now, and so is Beast Boy, which I think is a great move. Cyborg and Starfire are going to the Justice League, which is Odyssey, which is awesome. They have too big of a roster for Titans. So
I understand.
I'm glad that they're moving Starfire out of the Teen Titans, and I think Justice League Odyssey is going to be really awesome. It looks really great.
I'll just throw this out there. I think with the number of Titans characters they have available nowadays, they actually could pull off the Titans East and West like they tried to in the '60s, and then tried again in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
and never could really get off the ground because they didn't have enough superstar characters for
Yeah.
2 books. But now I think they do, and then they can have a couple of lesser known characters
But you could
like Flamebird.
you could make Jessica Cruz an honorary Titan. Because I know
That'd be interesting.
she seems a little bit older than some of them, but she's going to be on the Justice League with them.
Yeah.
And she's new to the hero thing. So if nothing else, like her physical age is different than her experiential age.
Yeah.
And so I know we spent a whole lot of time.
I was going to say we just rabbit trailed into a Titans conversation. So.
That's pretty normal for us. But I mean, Teen Titans is really intrinsically linked to the Bat family, anyways.
That's true.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, you could put her on the Titans and have like Justice League Odyssey become like Titans East, and then you could put like Hawk and Dove on that team.
Yeah.
Kick Azrael off because he has no real reason to be there.
Unless they do a good job.
I mean, they may do a good job
presenting him because he could serve as the Bat family member on that team.
So we'll see, and they can take Cyborg off of the other Justice League because he's a Titan.
But we both like Spoiler, and I think she could slot in.
Well,
with
they haven't done
like
anything
that.
with Ravager either, so she could be on that thing.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's a whole other conversation, and you'll notice I'm the one trying to redirect.
All right, here's the next. Who are we on?
Number 6. I titled this one Batgirl, but what I mean is Orphan or Cassandra. We were on Spoiler. Now we're moving on.
On to Orphan.
Yes. I don't call her Orphan. I think she fits really well as the Batgirl character. And we'll explain all that when we get to Oracle. But
yeah, you can talk about her Batgirl stuff. We're talking about her.
No, I'm saying I think Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, that character, deserves the title of Batgirl. I think she earned it. I think she wore the mantle well. The fact that she's going by her father's old assassin name seems odd. I was looking into that a little bit. I didn't know that's why she was called Orphan. I thought it was just because her dad was dead. But yeah, no,
one of the best fighters in the Bat family.
Yeah.
She deserves to be Batgirl, and I feel like she'll always be in Batman's shadow. Like she hit. I don't know that she could really, just because of how the character is created, she would be able to stand her own stuff. Although I guess a Batgirl series would be interesting with her. But because of her personality, I feel like she does better in a family.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's something she didn't have growing up.
Right.
She was trained by the League of Assassins, Shadows, whatever they're calling it in the comics.
Which is why in the DC or the Detective Comics run, she's excellent. And how I think her trying to live among other people, other heroes, and relate to them in a real way, as she grows emotionally and as she tries to overcome who she was.
Right, and that is so central to that character.
It's central.
And her relationship with Spoiler, see how I worked that back in, was so interesting to me because Spoiler, who didn't fit in with the Bat family, went out of her way to make sure that Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, did feel like she fit in.
Yeah. So I love the character of Orphan. I think she's really awesome.
She has an awesome background with martial arts. So.
She has a title of Blue Jay, too.
Yeah, that's not on my list, so.
We didn't. Blue Jay
is a more recent character.
Not that interesting. So. She doesn't do anything these days, so.
But, whatever. I mean, if Spoiler's not going to get her own series or regularly feature in the Bat books, if they did do a Cassandra Cain Batgirl book, I think they could easily make it her regular co-feature supporting character in that series.
I've been saying that they should do a Tim Drake and Spoiler duo team. That would be amazing. Like, they go to college, because that's what Tim Drake wants to do.
Right.
And Spoiler
that'd be really sweet.
Spoiler Orphan comes with them as Batgirl. That'd be really good.
That'd be a really great series. Because then they could relocate him like they did Nightwing with Bloodhaven. And then have them in this other location and totally just rock and roll.
I think Red Robin would really.
They'd all get a chance to shine like that, dude.
Really
that sounds great. You should write that.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. So,
DC, just message him through YouTube. Get on that.
Anyways, so that's Spoiler. I like the character. I like her and Spoiler. I love their characters in the Bat family. Possibly because I love Tim Drake a lot, and they're intrinsically tied to him. But I love their interesting characters and stuff.
So not a lot to say about her. I feel like she deserves the title of Batgirl. I feel like Barbara Gordon went out of her way when they did finally make her Batgirl in sort of handing over the mantle and acknowledging you deserve this. So I feel like that's just appropriate. So
all right, who we got next?
Number 7, probably the most controversial placement and character on the list just because of our feelings about her in general. But number 7 is Catwoman.
Catwoman.
I'll let you start.
I protested having her on this list.
Because he feels like she's not a hero. And
she's not a hero.
I'm not arguing that she is, but she is a central part of the Batman family because she's about to marry, or has at this point married, Batman.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Or I guess Bruce, right? Because it's, well, whatever. It's the same deal. See, because here's the thing. In our mind, Batman is the real guy, and Bruce Wayne is the mask that Batman wears to accomplish things outside of his identity as Batman.
Right.
Whereas Clark Kent is who?
Is Clark Kent. He's
Clark Kent.
Small-town, Smallville guy.
Right. And he puts on a costume to battle for truth, justice, and, as my son likes to say, the America way.
Because Clark Kent
can't do that.
Can't not watch things go on, but he can't be what he wants to be as Clark Kent.
And ever since Batman's parents were killed, he's been Batman. Like, he's been headed down that road the entire way. It's always been about not ever letting that happen for any other kid in the world, like it happened for him.
Which is why we have the Robins.
That's why we have the Robins, because he recognizes.
And everybody in the Bat family, really.
That's true. If you look, you're absolutely right. Orphan, her dad is a bad guy, and now he's dead. The Robins lost parents or didn't have parents, as in the case of Jason Todd, who was a runaway. Nightwing, his parents were killed by Tony Zuko.
Catwoman.
Yeah. So anyway, I loved Catwoman on the 90s cartoon show.
I agree.
I thought the way they did her character, she skirted the line at times, but tended more toward villain. And then they hinted at romance with them, and that was fine. But then Batman joined the Justice League, and his perfect relationship was sitting right there in front of him. They explored it well. And here's why we think Wonder Woman is Batman's best opportunity for true love.
First?
No. She gets the runner-up prize.
Okay.
So here's why we like Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. She's not trying to have a secret identity. She's
not anymore.
I mean, right. I mean, well, I don't know that since the Crisis she's ever really tried to worry about that.
I'm saying that she used to a long time ago, but.
Right. So before what I would consider, appropriate continuity. So.
Whatever.
I mean, she's Wonder Woman. She's flat out Wonder Woman all the time.
Right, which is perfect for Batman.
And Batman wants to be Batman all the time. And so, like...
He only is Bruce Wayne because he has to.
So, it's just a really perfect relationship because they work together and they get each other. Because she would make him be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Like in that episode of Justice League where he has to sing to save her or something.
That was great.
That was so perfect because even though he's got the mask on and stuff, we know that's Bruce Wayne under there, like, shining through.
She's really the first character to ever make Bruce Wayne live.
Right.
Because otherwise he's always Batman. Always Batman. But she's really the first character that really made him...
or gave him the opportunity to breathe and be himself. As opposed to... because he can be Batman with her, but take the mask off.
Right.
if that makes sense. I look at things very philosophically like that. So that's why we love Wonder Woman. DC, get on that relationship train.
And he needs somebody who won't die.
Right.
And Wonder Woman's not going to die. She's too powerful.
Right.
It would take a massive character to kill her. And so, honestly, like Bruce, he can't be with somebody who can be easily killed because, which is why he'd never marry somebody who's just a pedestrian.
Nor should he be with someone who is a villain.
Yeah, definitely not.
And I understand that because of the popularity of the Michelle Pfeiffer character, and then the cartoon show they made Catwoman more of an anti-hero.
I could see
and they
her
could
being
still
an anti-hero,
they can
but she's
still
a
do
villain.
that. But I don't know that they need to force this relationship. And this is just, I think, part and parcel of my concern that the folks running DC really want the Silver Age back. Where they were married and they had a kid, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah, that's Jeff Johns.
Yeah.
He likes Barry Allen, too.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem with him liking Barry Allen. I like Barry Allen. I just don't like him more than Wally. But we talked about that in our first SuperHeroChat. So go listen to that.
I'll link a video at the end about my discussion about why I don't like Catwoman, just because I don't want to fill up all the time on this video.
We'll just move on to the runner-up prize.
Yeah.
Zatanna. I think she also has potential to be a true love interest for Batman. Because even though she does her magician thing on the side, she's just all out who she is.
Yeah.
She's not. She doesn't wear a mask. She is just Zatanna, or Zatanna, as he likes to say. And I think they get each other.
Yeah,
just that weird. And it, that relationship introduces possibilities for Batman to face rogues outside of his normal milieu, because she's got the magic powers and stuff.
And she opens up a whole new world for him.
Right.
And she gives him she would give him a strength that he doesn't normally have, because Batman can beat just about anybody.
Right.
Physically, where his main weakness is his magic. Because he has no power over magic. Well, we'd say that he trained a little bit of magic, so he has like the basic.
But that was more escape artist kind of stuff that he was training with.
And so, so he has like a rudimentary knowledge of magic, but he can't use it, and so it's terrible weakness of his. So like in that episode where Wonder Woman gets turned into a pig.
Right.
He needs Zatanna to kind of help him.
And she totally slots into that I'm his old girlfriend kind of role when Wonder Woman's like, so who's this? And I love that. So I think if she doesn't, if DC doesn't want to roll with her being the primary girlfriend, I think she slots in perfectly as the
old girlfriend.
That still has this excellent relationship with the main character Batman. So anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, number 8 is Damian.
Wonder Woman is the best.
Right, for Bruce. Batman. Number 8 is Damian. I'm not calling him Robin because I don't believe he should be Robin.
The new Robin. I'll call him Robin.
I know, because he respects people.
I need to let you read Super Sons, because it really gave me respect for Damian.
I'd be willing to read it.
It's good. It's the best.
I have another book I have to read before you give me anything else to read.
That's true. It's the best Damian I've ever seen is in Super Sons. And the reason why is because Damian's a jerk. He's just really terrible jerk, and he hates everything. Honestly, the most interesting thing I've ever seen with Damian, there's two things, is Batman Beyond, where he becomes Ra's al Ghul, which is the perfect place.
Right, that seems like the perfect trajectory for that character.
He has this dual struggle as well, which is beautiful, or could be, where he has this pull toward Ra's al Ghul and pull towards Batman. And so, because his grandfather and his father, and so he has to figure out who to follow. And right now he's following Batman, and he's forsaken Ra's al Ghul. But the ultimate conclusion of the character needs to be him going to become the new Ra's al Ghul, because he's already kind of more villainous than any of the others.
Right, he chafes
And-
under the rules of the
And
Bat
so
family.
it would be super interesting to see him as Ra's al Ghul, because he could do the Ra's al Ghul character, because the Ra's al Ghul character, even though he's a villain, does a lot of good things, supposedly.
Right.
And that'd be perfect for him.
He's no worse a villain than Thanos.
Right.
He just does it on a smaller scale.
And so, you'd see a whole bunch of him and his father conflicting, and him fighting some of the other Bat family.
Right, like
But-
Batgirl,
but still
or
be
Cassandra
like-
Cain, because she's got the history with the League as well.
Right. But you'd still have like him be considered, like, it'd be an interesting like family dynamic when they're at Thanksgiving or whatever,
Right.
which they never do. But when they're all together, everybody's like, why is this guy here? And he's like, well, I'm
Well, they did have
I'm
a
a-
Thanksgiving with the
yeah.
JSA and the JLA, and that was really neat.
And I'm just like, but I feel like him turning more dark, kind of like Red Hood, but still trying to draw the line of being a Bat family, trying to fulfill
Wear
both
that
roles.
mantle, yeah.
And see how he goes back and forth, where he's not a good Ra's al Ghul because he's too Bat family, and then he's not good Bat family because he's too Ra's al Ghul. That'd be beautiful. That's what really needs to happen with him. Kill the old Ra's al Ghul, make him the new Ra's al
I
Ghul.
thought he was dead.
Just make him grow. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a long time, so I don't know.
That's why I assumed he was dead. 'Cause
Just
they hadn't done anything.
make him taller. It's time. Like, he's 13. He's about to hit a growth spurt.
right.
Make him tall, like an adult.
Or at least taller than Kid Flash.
Yeah. I feel
he seems so short.
I feel like if he grew at least
2
a
inches.
little bit, like, he could be Ra's al Ghul. He could be, and of course he looks awesome in Batman Beyond. So if you haven't seen that, it's awesome. The other thing I saw was in Injustice 2 comic book, he becomes Nightwing. I think he kills Dick Grayson, and then because he is so ashamed of what he's done, he tries to live up to Dick Grayson's mantle.
Didn't they do that
thought
same
that was
deal
really
with
interesting.
Red Hood though? Like at one point he tried to be Batman after Batman died, and that was just
I don't know.
crap.
But I thought it was a really interesting take on the character. I feel like if anybody was going to be Nightwing, it'd be Damian, because the other two don't need it.
Right,
right. And Nightwing's such a mentor to Damian, anyways.
That's true. He was his Robin when Dick was Batman.
So, anyways, he doesn't say much about Damian because he hates the character. I've grown to appreciate him. I don't like the character, but I like him as much as I like Guy Gardner.
I think if they did more, like better stories with him, it probably wouldn't be as bad. But I mean, he just seems like an angry generic Robin.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the problem with the guy we're about to talk about. But
all right, what's next?
Red Hood, number 9.
Red Hood. I like Jason Todd. If you're not reading the Red Hood and the Outlaws, it's great. It's really great. It's much better than the
original run?
before Rebirth, Red Hood and the Outlaws, which was Arsenal and Starfire for some reason.
Yeah.
Made no sense to me.
No. Arsenal is not best friends with Jason Todd. I don't care what DC says. If he's best friends with anybody, it'd be more Aqualad or Nightwing.
Yeah, maybe Wally.
No, because Wally and Dick are best friends.
Well, I didn't say. I mean, you can have multiple best friends.
I understand that. I'm just saying.
Which in the Titans run for Rebirth near the end, they have Arsenal or Wally and Dick trying to save Arsenal, which is really great, and then he has to take them out, which is amazing. It's really good. It's really good.
So as far as Red Hood goes, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, we got off of.
Oh no, we're fine. But we were talking. I don't mean earlier in this video. I mean earlier, like yesterday or something. We were talking about Jason Todd and how when he was introduced, they were just trying to slot somebody in the Robin spot, which is fine. It made sense to help have Dick grow up. But when they slotted him in and they made him kind of generic and then tried to make him angsty and more violent than the previous Robin, people were turned off, understandably so. But obviously they weren't dissuaded enough to vote in an overwhelming majority to have him killed off. It was a few votes, which just goes to show that the average person didn't even care that much about the character, one way or the other. And so
honestly, like killing him off is the best thing they could have done for the character.
Right.
Because it really just added gravity to his character.
And to the Batman character.
And to Batman and to all the Robins.
To suffer that sort of a heavy loss.
Because that really sparked a whole lot with Dick and Bruce for a long time.
And the way that Tim Drake
came
in, and Bruce was like, if you're going to do this, you're going to go all out with your training. You're not going to slack off and just try to wing it.
Yeah.
Which is what Jason did.
Because Tim Drake is probably the weakest of the Robins, fighting-wise. But he makes up for it, with his skill. Which
innovation and that sort of thing.
And so it was important following Jason Todd for the next Robin to really, even though Tim was not really physically fit enough to fight, not that he was like, he just was untrained completely.
Right.
And he's not really the best fighter of the group. And so, but we'll talk about it in a minute. But it was that story of the Joker killing Jason led into how Batman treats his Robins afterwards. Which might be another reason why Spoiler didn't work out.
Yeah. I'm not as opposed to Red Hood as I am Damian, because Jason Todd, had his moments as Robin, and I don't know.
He's not a good Robin.
I have mixed feelings. No. I don't want him to be Robin.
Well, I'm saying he's not a good Robin, but he's a great character.
Right.
Because he's become his own character.
Yeah, but he's assumed the mantle of a villain, and so
which I think it works great for his character.
Very shades of gray.
Well, you have a really bright character with Dick, and then you have a really dark character with Jason, and you have a really bright character with Tim, and you have a dark character with Damian, and
right.
I skipped Spoiler because she doesn't really.
At some point, though, I worry that Jason is gonna go evil, or have to be killed saving one of the Bat family.
That would be interesting.
I have no other, for storyline potential. I don't see anything he can do to really set himself apart.
Well, Red Hood and the Outlaws is really good.
Right. I hear what you're saying.
With Artemis and Bizarro Superman, a bunch of misfits off to the side, not really doing anything, but he's still trying to live up to Batman. He's
never gonna do that though, because he doesn't buy into everything that Batman is.
That's true, but he still tries, which I think is really interesting.
But that's what I'm saying.
He knows he can't do it, but he tries.
At some point, he's either gonna break and become a villain full out and just be like, screw this noise, or he's gonna go in the other direction and sacrifice himself in a huge way for one of the Batman family.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, those are the only interesting possibilities I see for the character long term.
Yeah.
So
and I think that'd be cool. I think it'd be really, especially if he sacrifices himself. That'd really make a good mark for the character. That'd be a great ending for him.
If they ended him, but the problem is they keep bringing him back, like they brought Barry back, and
and that goes to a deeper problem about superhero stories where they just keep bringing people back. But anyways, that's all I gotta say about Red Hood.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I like him. I really think he's a great character.
Number 10, Sir Alfred Pennyworth.
I love Alfred. Everybody
such
loves
a great
Alfred.
character.
I don't know anybody who doesn't like Alfred. There's so many characters that are based off of Alfred.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, I guess so. Maybe Jarvis,
movies and stuff.
The original Jarvis in the comics may have
I don't know,
spawned from
Q from James Bond.
That may have been predate Alfred.
Before the 40s.
I don't know when James Bond was.
I feel like it was much later.
We'll look it up. Was the first one.
We'll look it up,
Ian
I'll tell you.
But you could even argue that Mycroft Holmes would predate Alfred. But anyway, Alfred serves as a father figure, a sort of a fount of knowledge. He serves as a medic to Bruce. He serves as a voice of reason. So I don't really have a whole lot to say about him. I just love the character, and I thought they did really well with him in the 90s cartoon show.
I don't think there's ever been an Alfred I didn't like.
Well,
somebody acting there's been Batmans that I didn't like or Jokers I didn't like, but there's never been Alfred I didn't like.
Okay,
there were some that I didn't like that I liked less than others.
Right.
But there's never been an Alfred I didn't like.
Okay, I'll go
think
with
they're
that.
all really
I
good.
think that's great.
I think he's the grounding for Batman.
Yeah.
Because I think without Pennyworth, Batman would just spiral out of control.
Yeah.
Similar
he would be full on Batman all the time, no Bruce Wayne
Right.
whatsoever. I think, like I said, Alfred serves as that voice, that Jiminy Cricket
Right.
from Pinocchio.
Which is why he needs Wonder Woman. I know I'm back on
Right.
that. So when Alfred dies,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman becomes his new connection to the world. Because
Yeah.
Robin is never going to be able to connect Batman to the world. Because he's the follower, he's following after Batman.
Right.
And he grounds him in a way in that he grounds him to other people, but he doesn't ground him to reality,
Right.
which is that he's Bruce Wayne. And
because around Batman, Robin is more Damian, Dick, Jason, or Tim than those characters are more Robin than they are themselves around Batman.
Right.
Because that's
which
sort
is why
of
they always get out of his shadow.
That's why the Batman wears that so heavily, is because like that's just the force of his personality. When you show up, you're not Tim Drake, you're Robin.
Right.
You're not Damian.
That's because he's not Bruce, he's Batman.
That's right.
Except around Alfred, who knew him before. He's like, you're not. Alfred,
Man, I changed your diapers.
Alfred will not let him move on. It's similar to Wonder Woman, which is why Wonder Woman's perfect. I know I keep saying that, but Alfred grounds him to reality. It's like, hey, you're not Batman. You're just a man. You gotta eat. You gotta sleep. You take care of yourself. You can't just spiral out of control. And if Alfred dies, Batman goes off the rails and probably ends up dying.
Yeah.
So really, Alfred is the reason Batman is able to survive, I think.
Yeah.
Because without him, he would just probably starve himself to death and then die. So, anyways, I love Alfred. I think he's an essential character, maybe underlooked. It's just he's just a butler, but you know, true comic book fans they'll know, or true movie fans, they know that Alfred is a vital character to the whole role of Batman, and without him, Batman doesn't exist.
And I hate the movie, but you saw how essential Alfred's role was in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Where Bruce goes off basically on what amounts to a suicide run in his fight with Bane, and then at the end, and Alfred's like, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to stick around for this. And then you see him at the end in the cafe, and he looks over, and it's Bruce and Selina, right?
Yeah. Now, here's something about that while we're on it. With the Dark Knight Returns, one of the problems with that movie is Catwoman is basically Batwoman, or Batgirl. It's basically Batgirl. She's not Catwoman. She's basically like a semi-evil Batgirl that's ready to reform. And she'd be a lot like Cassandra. She has a bad past, but she's willing to overcome that to become.
So they just blended like 4 different characters to make this one.
To make this one, and she's nothing like Catwoman. Nothing like Catwoman. I didn't mind that expression of the character, but I think that's what they're going. One of the reasons they're going for Catwoman so heavily now is because of that movie made her more of a hero, and people like the Batman Catwoman relationship when Catwoman's really a villain. Right. Anyways.
Moving on, so Alfred grounds Bruce as a voice of reason. This next character, number 11, James Gordon, grounds him as a just character.
That's right. Whenever Batman gets ready to cross the line,
James Gordon is like, buddy, I'm over here, so just come back this way.
Come back over here.
You know where the line is. Let's not go across it. And he stands up to Batman. Like, I know there was a episode of the cartoon show where Batgirl got shot. It was all a dream sequence, but, I mean, spoiler alert, for a show that's like 15, 20 years old now, but you should invest your time and go watch it. And when Batman went over when it came out that Barbara was Batgirl, Gordon was like, you're endangering innocent lives. And he went after him. Yeah. He's like, I can't tolerate this when you can't even handle your stuff. You know what I mean? And without
James Gordon being the light in in the police force and
right,
in Gotham,
in a corrupt
then
system,
Batman becomes corrupt as well.
yeah, because he has no choice. If you know, a lot of times we think it's silly, but our first impulse is to fight fire with fire, not
Right.
to fight fire with water. James Gordon is the water to Batman's fire.
And he probably wouldn't have his rule about not killing people if he knew that the justice system was unjust. And
even when he recognizes it's broken, he still tries to operate within the bounds of
Right.
it for the most part.
And so having James Gordon there trying to reform the system constantly, he has faith that eventually, you know, with both of them acting together, that they can save Gotham. But without Gordon, it's all on him. And if it's up to him, he's going to kill people eventually, because he realizes that these people are just going to make it back on the streets, and it's his fault, not the justice system. Because if it's not actually Batman's fault that the criminals keep busting out and doing stuff
or getting off on technicalities, that's
the justice system. And if there were no hope for the system, then Batman would just take it into his own hands.
But
since
quit.
Since there's Jim Gordon, who is the hope of the system that it works, and it works a lot of times, then Batman can trust the system there. So yeah, I like Jim Gordon.
And
he kind of makes the other side of the detective thriller too.
Yes.
So he's the detective. He's right beside Batman, trying to figure things out, even though he's not as good.
Right. And so there's like that competitive nature too, like who's gonna solve the crime first.
So.
Because that was one thing I didn't like about the Adam West show, is he seems so helpless as a police commissioner.
Well, it is kind of a goofy show. Anyway.
Oh, I know the show was goofy, but at the same time, he just seems so inept.
That's true.
Like, we've got to have Batman. We can't do it on our own.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
well, that's half the reason of the bat signal. Like, it's him saying, I can't do it on my own. So.
Right. So.
But we can trust him to do the ordinary things.
Right. Like take care of ordinary bad guys, or try to ensure that all the paperwork is in place.
He only lets Batman in when it's absolutely necessary.
Right. And that seems more logical.
So, anyways, all right.
Number 12 is Oracle, and we'll spend a little bit more time here just because we love this character and really hate the shaft that DC has given her. And this video is long already, but we're gonna try and speed through the last three after Oracle. So just with the Oracle,
let's hold on a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna break this into two videos because this is really long, and we'll catch you in just a minute.